Hello and welcome to the Courage Coalition. I am laughing because my guest today is going to make you laugh too. She is a fire and spunk and so many things. But I think the first thing that really took me or made me be attracted to you was your no nonsense way of talking about money
Mm.
and how refreshing it was to get out of the stuffy. So, Dawn Dahlby, welcome to the Courage Coalition.
I'm so excited to be here too, just to have another woman that understands money and understands relationships and behaviors and just having this real girl to girl talk
Yeah.
about wherever this conversation goes. But money and life, and we all know money's oxygen. So it's all tied back to how we view life, how we view ourselves, how we view relationships, all of the things. And so tying money into the topic is super, super important.
Yes, absolutely. So, for all of you that don't know Dawn, and I hope I'm introducing all of you to this new phenomenal woman, but Dawn Dahlby is, she's a CEO. She has her own, I said that
It's
wrong.
Relevate. I know, you know what? We just to let you know, we named it Relevate. We're like, everyone's going to trip up the name. And we're like, well, that's the point. So we can talk about it. It's
Yeah.
Relevate Financial Group. And
Yes.
everyone screws it up. So it's cool.
Oh, good. I'm glad I'm
Yeah.
not the only one.
No.
So, Relevate Financial Group, and it really is a money business,
Hmm.
but redefines how your clients and those you speak to think about money, which is that's the money right there. That's the
Yep.
money.
Hmm.
But you're also a keynote speaker. You're an author. You are a mama and a wife. You are so many things. And when I read your book almost a year ago,
Mm.
Live Wealthy by Dawn Dahlby. I think that is again what it came back down to is that you bring such a different thought process to what it means to be wealthy, but what it means to be human.
Hmm. Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about the company. Tell us a little bit about your book. I mean, what is
Yeah.
it that in your website you talk about it really took my mom losing my mom.
Hmm.
So why? You're a
Well,
brilliant woman.
yeah. I mean, we all have this thing with money, and anyone that's uncomfortable or is not courageous with money, the reason why I got into money, because I wasn't either. I wanted to understand it. And so nobody's alone. I will just say this is that, eh, to be a wealth advisor, I'm in my 25th year. And I've realized through my own journey and through helping clients, like I always say, I've sat in over 10,000 client meetings. And so you start to understand people. And I realized that really to get correct financial advice, it's about the technical how to build wealth. And that's really what I did forever. But then actually sitting in all these client meetings is like, oh my gosh, we all have this relationship that needs to be uncovered and talked about because I've never met a person that didn't feel uncomfortable with money, that didn't feel like they had enough. And it's so funny in client meetings, everyone's like, well, I don't have a lot of money, comparative to your other clients. And I'm like, you're like one of my top clients, but nobody thinks they have enough money. And so I started to unpack this. Why do we act like this around money? And why do we feel this incompetence and this negative scarcity mindset around money? Why did I feel like that too? And so, I got into the psychology around money because at the end of the day, more money doesn't equal more happiness. And if you really like peel back why we want more money is because we want more life. I mean, that's really
Mm.
what it is. We want more freedom. We just want to live our life in alignment with who we are as human beings. And that's why I talk about the core values so much. And I got sick of talking about the more, more, more. Like it's okay to want more. It's okay to want more when it's driven by a positive force, not this negative force of scarcity. And so, I just started to go like, I believe God has made me a person that can feel comfortable talking about values in a different way to inspire people to think about their money and quit comparing and making up all this limited crap that we tell ourselves in our heads all day long. Cause I used to do it too. I'm one of the most fearfully driven person on the planet, or used to be so fearful about everything. I was like, let's just have this new conversation about money because it can't derail us from who we were really meant to be on this planet. So anything and anything you want to talk about, I want to call you coffee as a joke.
I love it, right? You it's and
Coffee.
it is always what the computer auto corrects, and so many people don't catch it because it still looks pretty much the same, right? And I'm like, "Oh, yeah, that says Coffee Roofner."
Coffee Roofner, exactly. So we're going to get spiked up with some coffee today and courageousness on how we can have a better relationship with money, because you do need the how-to advice. So, Corey, if you want to go to how-to advice, that's great. If you want to go to relationship advice, let's just like have this conversation and bring up even some things that happen in your life that you want to like learn from me and through my experience. Like I'm happy to share anything with you and your community.
I love this. And the reason, I talked about how you look at money, how you approach money was one of my general magnets for you. And just like, so many of my clients come to me and say, I'm so tired of being looked down upon from my
Mm,
financial team, right? Because I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm asking them. And that just breaks my heart. They talk about
mhm.
what breaks your heart. That breaks my heart because nobody should be looked down upon for really good questions or even really not good questions. It doesn't matter. A question is a question and it's important. And
Mhm.
if you have a team, they should be answering it. But one of the things that I was like, oh my gosh, yes, somebody gets it, is when you talked about values, spending from your values. That is something that, like, my whole adult life, I have, if it fits into my important things, then it's worth spending money on. If it's not, it's not. And I teach that and I talk to people about that, but they're like, wow, I would have never even thought about
Mhm.
spending in my values. But you take it a step forward, which I've never had heard. You should like earn from your strength, spend from your values. So let's
Yes.
really dive into that because my clients hear that from me. And I hear a couple times on the podcast, I'll do solo casts about it. But let's hear it from somebody else's mouth.
Yes. So earn from your strengths is really about like the strengths finder and understanding what your top 5 strengths are and making sure you're making an income in alignment with that. First and foremost, I think, using myself as an example of why I even came up with this phrase was because I was not operating in my strengths. Like I was born to like entertain and all this energy that I have. And I love human beings and just surrounding, but I wanted to know how to make money. So, because my husband's a musician and I knew he wasn't going to be famous because he didn't have the drive. I was like, someone needs to learn how to make money. So I did that, but it wasn't in my lane. But what I did is I took the career and kind of made it my lane and realized that I felt so insecure and so not worthy and like being in a male dominated industry and operating differently in this industry, and I always felt like I wasn't enough. And then I realized, you know what? I just need to use my strengths in these client meetings, and I don't have to put myself in this box of like the good old boys club with the tie and the jacket and talking stuffy with their clients. I'm like, puke. Like women and other people need good financial advice, and I can do it in my style. So I realized we finally grow up and we finally mature after doing personal development and realize that my style's okay and that I can actually help people achieve even greater levels of wealth by doing it the way I want to do it. And so that's meaning for me operating in my strengths. And so I teach. So when I started operating my life in my strengths, like I watched my wealth grow significantly. And I'm like, well, if I can do this, everybody else can. So it's taking the strengths finder, which is the Gallup, and I have no affiliation with this, like nothing, but it's improved my life so much. But it's knowing the top 5 strengths and then making decisions about how you spend your time making an income in alignment with those top 5 strengths. So I think a lot of times people are like, oh, I've done that. It's like, okay, well, what are your top 5 strengths? And they're like, Like even my team, like when I first started talking to them about, I'm like, well, tell me what your top 5 strengths are. And they couldn't even ramble them off. I'm like, if you can't even say what they are, how are you like implementing them in your life?
Yeah.
So it's really getting deep on those strengths and making sure that 80% of your time at work is spent in those. We all have 20% of our time that we do the crap work. I still do. Like I was telling Corey, like I'm doing this first fix and flip house because I just want to learn how to teach other people to make income if they can't, like if they have an income gap. And my strength is not sweeping. My strength is not like taking boxes and like doing that stuff. And I start to burn up and get this poor me attitude as a 54-year-old doing this kind of work. But I still spend 20% of my time in work that I don't like, right? Even in my wealth advisory firm. Like I have a team of 10. We have investment analysts, we have CPAs, we have service people. Like there's still 20% of my time that I'm doing work that I shouldn't be doing, but it's how life works.
Yes.
So, but 80% of your time in your strengths is super, super important. And then it's that other side of spending in your values, which
Yep.
is also important. But I think it's first and foremost understanding the strengths part. And then the values is again, if you cannot rattle off your top 5 values like that, then you don't even know what they are. How are you like in a good relationship with your money? Because, I think naturally, Corey, we all spend our money on things that we like. We're like, well, duh, Dawn. I'm going to spend money on the things that we like, which are my values. But you have to peel those values back. Like, what do they really mean to you? Like, we all share similar values, but what do those values really mean to you? Because it's more important to find out to not spend money on the things that you really don't value. And so many of us just waste so much money on the things that we're just spending money on because we were told to, or we're trying to keep up with, society and all that kind of crap. It's like, if you just stop wasting your money, you have that money to spend for, and to save for your future. So it's like, getting rid of the non-value spending. And you can't do that until you understand those values.
Yes. And I mean, my gosh, yes. I
Yeah,
mean,
I know there's a
because like
lot. I
it's no,
talked too
it's
long.
just so good because I think there's nobody that hasn't really taken a deep dive into their finances that actually can say that and know that with a true heart. When
Mhm.
I was actually having a conversation with my husband recently, you talked about the flip, right? The
Yep.
type A personality. There's a budget. This is the way it's supposed to happen. You better get it done. And then when you don't, it makes us feel so uncomfortable. Well,
Mhm.
when we moved to Montana, that was me. I had this grip, right? We had this budget to do the whole house, do the whole property, put all the utilities on. And I was holding on so tight that I started to, right, not feel
Mm.
good because things were getting close, right? Because we know what construction looks like. We know what the economy as a whole looks like. Things are going to fluctuate. And the minute I released that scarcity grip on the budget and looked at it from a different perspective, oh, we're only going to go over $50,000 for a $1.2 million property. Wow.
Wow.
Wow, Corey. Like, really? Are you just
Mhm.
insane? Because
Mhm.
that's what I was thinking. I had this grip on this control. And then all of a sudden you move it to abundance and realizing, like, wow, you guys rocked the heck out of that project, right?
Mhm.
But
Yes.
but we forget. We think that it has to look a certain way or we have to do this a certain way. And our values is so we could have paid that off and just like depleted ourselves every single month without ever having to take a loan, right?
Mhm.
But then we couldn't live in our values
Mhm.
because we were just
Exactly.
being depleted every month, right? Depleted. But if we took that $50,000 and paid it off in 5 years, our interest, I mean, now I'm going to get all crazy on you, a little funky, right? Like our interest would have only been $3,000 for the whole time. We would have been able to live in our values during that same time. And all of a sudden it makes sense. Because travel for me is like, if I can't travel, I'm going to stop breathing, is the way it feels,
Absolutely.
right?
Yes. Mhm.
My
Yes, and that
family,
mentality of
yes,
women always saying, you can't have this, or you can't travel, or you can't have the coffee, or it's like, really?
yeah,
Really? Like,
yeah,
no, that's not appropriate. But so you're 100% right. So you would have had 5 years without you living in your values.
right.
And that's 5 years that are gone. You'll never get that back.
And not only that, but if I'm not living in my values, I'm not aligned. Guess what I'm not doing? I'm not earning the same way either.
Exactly. And you're not happy and you're a
Yeah.
bitch to your husband and to
Yes.
everyone else around you and blah, blah,
Blah,
blah.
blah.
Right. It's the
Right.
reality. And we all that like you make a great point. Like the grip that we have on money. I even still do that because I have to still catch myself. I don't
Mhm.
need to have grip anymore
No.
on money, but I still do because it's natural for us to think that, oh my gosh, I just lost this money. And we feel like we can't ever get it back when money is flow. And when you're constantly putting out the scarcity energy level, you're going to get more back. And this is scientifically proven. Like
Right.
life is all about energy. We are constantly growing and evolving. Look outside, right? It's, you can see how real this is. And it's like, if you really think that, like, because we all make financial mistakes, I
Yes.
don't care how good you are, we make financial mistakes. And when you put that grip on there, all you're doing is telling energy around you that there's not enough
Yes.
and that there's not going to be more, instead of going, you know what? I made a mistake. Or you know what? I'm going to put that on a interest for 3,000 for 5 years. Who the heck cares? Like, you know what I mean? Like that is the real inspiration right there, what you talked about. It's about making those really good decisions holistically and not having to just like grip onto money that we
Right.
think won't come back, and it will when you're in the right mindset.
Yes. And
But that
here's
mindset also, let me just say this,
yeah.
that mindset has to be worked on. It never, I don't think it ever goes away. I don't think like you just like do all this work. I've done personal development for 30 years. 30 years. It still like creeps up, but that friction of it is less and less because I can turn it off real quick. But it's this constant, we got to constantly learn and grow. And that's why you have your community, because they need reinforcement, right? I get energy just by sitting here with you today.
Right.
Right. And
Absolutely.
it's energy that we create by being together. And that's why people hire you. That's why people want to be around you, because of that energy. And just remember, you have that same energy around money too.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. And I feel like, I think back and people, so you know a little bit about our story, but we took this
Hmm.
major shift a few years ago and everyone just assumed immediately that we had one inherited a bunch of money or we were just rich. You're just rich to be able to do that. And the fact of the matter is neither of those things happened. Right? Like, no, we did not inherit a lot of money. Chad's mom dying, it was just the pivotal moment that we decided we were going to choose how we
Hmm.
left. And we had lived a responsible life. And I don't say that in any judgment. It was a responsible life. We lived within our means and in our values that enabled us to take a big risk, because that is the key right there, is that we took a big risk and assumed or knew enough about ourselves, which is really what it comes down to, knew enough about ourselves that we could shift and change the way we earned our money. But because we were not in debt, we
Hmm.
were able to take that risk, right?
Hmm.
And so, I guess one of the things I come up against all the time is people assume so much about the people they're watching, right? And we're all being watched. We know that we're all being watched. They assume something when if you just ask the question or get curious and have the conversation like we're having, you realize, oh, it's not that way,
Hmm.
right? It's not
Hmm.
that way. And money is one of those conversations that we never want to ask the question because it feels,
Unfortunately.
yes, it feels
And
so
you know why?
forbidden.
If you peel that back, why people don't want to talk about money, it's the
Words.
same thing that, yes. And it's the same thing that I brought up when we first started talking. Everyone thinks everyone has more money. Your situation just confirmed what I said 10 minutes ago.
Yes.
Everyone thinks everyone has more money and they're not worthy enough. And they think like, well, they're afraid to open the hood and go, what's really under there? And if they would just open the damn hood, knowing that they're not alone and
Yeah.
knowing that, you know what, it can be fixed. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I had a conversation with a couple this morning. Great income, like $1 million of income. They have a ton of debt. Like they bought into some businesses that aren't being successful. I'm like, it's not, you don't have to bring your emotions into it. It's just like, we got to make a sound financial decision. Do we file bankruptcy? Do you file bankruptcy on the business? Do we sell the business, or do we try really hard to keep it going? But it's okay. Like, open the hood, because the fear is always greater than what's under the hood, right?
Right.
The fear, the lies that we make up in our head are always significantly bigger. And I think, you even coming to me a few weeks ago and say, well, I'm intimidated. I'm like, I hope I didn't intimidate you, but it's like, I'm intimidated by you too. I think we all have this perception because we go in with a fearful mindset anyway, and we
Mhm.
know like our low lights of our life and what really happens under the hood, and right. And it's like, we all go into these conversations or meeting people thinking the same thing. And it's like, well, the reality is that we're all just the same. We're
Yeah.
just on a little bit different journey, and the journey is full of love if you think about it, and just supporting and helping other people. And how do we help, how do we help more people? How do you and I together help more people get more money in their pocket? By being smart with their emotions and being smart with the technical advice. So when you combine those two, that's when life gets awesome.
Oh,
So important.
yes.
These
And let me highlight
conversations.
it a little bit. So I did. I met, like I said, I met Dawn almost a year ago, and immediately I just was in love with her. But oh my gosh, I was so intimidated. She's such a brilliant woman. And I was like, oh my gosh, yeah, this feels really scary. This feels like imposter syndrome. Hello, right?
That hurts
But
my heart
but then
because I would never even think that
I
about
know,
you. But
but
yes.
but it wasn't you. It was just you have so much knowledge. And what do we say when as humans? What do we immediately say when someone knows so much more than us? I'll never live up to that. I'll never be able to
Yeah.
provide
I'm not
value
worthy.
for right.
Hmm.
And for me, I always want to bring value to all my connections, right? Because
Hmm.
that's what we want to do. We want to provide equal value, or not even equal, just value.
Yes.
And then at a line, the very first night at that dinner, I mean, you walked up to me and you hugged me, and I'm a hugger. And I'm like, okay, Corey, that you just need to let this go. But then Brooke, what did Brooke say? She says, your intimidation is your invitation. And it was
Mm.
like, ding, 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 ding.
Mhm.
And so I
Yeah.
immediately reached out to you afterwards. I'm like, nope, I love her. I love her book. I love her work. Everything she is a how I feel. She just has a gazillion more tons of experience. And that is knowledge. Knowledge is power. How am I going to help my clients? By reaching out and asking questions to more people. So that's why you're
Absolutely.
here.
And let's just say this, you don't give yourself enough credit for all the wisdom you have just by default of our age, right?
Yes,
And
absolutely.
I'm not saying you're old. I'm not saying I'm old, but it's
I,
just, I spoke at a college this week and on, money. I was like, these college kids look like babies. And I'm like, oh, it's perception. You
yeah.
forget, like, you just forget how much. So do not underestimate your knowledge. You have a ton of knowledge. We just have different experiences. And
Right.
when we come together, that's when it gets really cool, because what you do, I couldn't do, and vice versa. But coming together, it's when it really gets like the love of helping other people and serving with our knowledge is beautiful.
And our perspective, because
Hmm.
everyone's perspective and experiences, the story, the chapter you're in, it brings something else. And I've just been so like excited about these conversations I have with other women doing money, right?
Hmm.
Because they bring in this whole different perspective that makes you stop and think, or another tool or skill. And so I hope this is what the audience is going to get, is just this other knowledge base. But what I want to highlight too is what you do, because you are not a CPA, you are not a bookkeeper, you do something really special. And I think this is another reason I love you so much, is that you are allowing people. I actually have a client I'm working with right now, and I've given her your guys' company name because they make a lot of money and they are not investing and using it the way that it best suits them, right?
Mm.
It's just like this old school, write the expenses, have the income, pay the taxes. And I'm like, oh, no, no, no. Dawn taught me you do not want to pay the IRS.
Right. You want to pay them your share fair amount, but as we are seeing all over the news, like we pay way too much tax for the
Yes.
wrong reasons.
Yes. And so let's highlight a little bit about what your company does, really about, financial advising. It's
Mhm.
not necessarily, it's not, you're an advisor. You come
Yep.
in with actual different ways to look at the same picture. And then the client gets to see how there is options.
Yes, absolutely. So in our firm, we lead with a financial plan. So everything we do comes down to a financial plan, which a financial plan means it's going to help you make really good decisions because we want everyone to optimize their money, not just accumulate their money. It's about optimizing life and their money. And you cannot optimize life without having this financial plan. So a financial plan looks at your spending, it looks at your income and your spending, your protection planning, like how much insurance, all of the things we need from a protection perspective. It looks like we manage our clients' investments. So not only are we giving them advice on how to invest, but we're literally managing the investments, making sure the risk is in alignment, rebalancing, looking for all the opportunities out there. We do their taxes, we do the retirement plans. Like the retirement plan means this. It's like, how can you be 100%? Well, nothing's 100%. How can you be a 99%, um, 99% sure with a probability of success that you're never going to run out of money? So you can be able to say, I can retire, or I can start to work part time, or I can do what without the fear of running out of money. So that's what a retirement plan does. And then we help clients with estate planning. Like it's everything, right? And how much they should be saving. Like it's everything related to the dollar. And so what's really cool and beautiful is that I have a team and we're like the financial advisors are the quarterback. They're like organizing and making sure that your financial plan will be implemented and that you'll never run out of money. And then what we do is we have our investment analysts in our team that actually go, okay, this client has this type of risk profile and these are their goals. Like we have to know the client so well that when we talk to the investment analyst, then we're implementing how much should they be saving? What in their 401k? How much in a non 401k and a Roth IRA? And then we look at like we do our clients' taxes too. So it's like, okay, when you talk about taxes, that's a whole nother episode. It's a whole nother conversation, but there's income tax and investment tax. And they talk to each other, but normally it doesn't, the communication that we've had in the past with taxes have been very limited because you don't have this quarterback that's helping you minimize your income and your investment tax. Like just to give you an example, I've had a prospect come in where they've made a decision to pull out a couple $1,000 out of their non-IRA position to go on a trip in retirement. Well, guess what that did? It then triggered their Social Security to be taxed at a higher bracket. Instead of 50% taxation, it was 85% taxation. Then it also triggered their Medicare premiums to go up. Like it was just this basically this domino effect with their taxes, and they ended up having to pay almost 50% in taxes when you start to add it all up. And it's like from a $2,000 withdrawal for a trip, like it's people don't realize the decisions they make with their money like impact everything else. And my job is to first and foremost as that quarterback is to make sure that you're making good decisions from a taxation standpoint, because that's where we waste all of our money. And the government wants us to waste our money on taxes because they make it super confusing. So you make a small decision over here on the left-hand side, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, that really blew up. I didn't realize X, Y, and Z. And what people don't realize is that to have a financial plan actually, like I would say almost 10 out of 10 times, it costs you less to hire a financial advisor to help you out with that type of strategy than it does if you're doing it on your own. So that's why I love what I do, because we don't actually physically take any money from people. Like people don't have to write out a check to work with us. All they do is invest their money with us. And then their investments, if they're an entrepreneur, small business owner, or if they're not, we have a way to make sure their fee is either a tax write-off or it's tax efficient. So like they're getting a 30% discount, and then they're getting their taxes done, they're getting their investments done, like all of the things. And so we're really technical, which is different than what you do, right? You're giving the coaching and the advice and all of that kind of stuff where we're actually physically making sure that the money like literally will be there. But for me, it's not the boring part, but it's the if you need that. So don't get me wrong, we all need that. And most people don't understand all that stuff that need to, but I love talking about the psychology around it because most of us get tripped up with the I don't have enough, so and so has more than me, and so they don't even start the financial plan. I'm like, you're screwing yourself like by millions of dollars in your lifetime
Yeah.
because your brain is telling you lies that you don't have enough. Like it's so
Right.
stupid. So
Yeah.
that's why I like to lead with that.
And
And it
I
was in
love
my
that.
life too, right? Where all our pain becomes our passion. So,
Right. And
yeah.
you know, and the thing about that is this is that you actually have a wide variety of services. So, you know, yes, maybe your top tier services are for those people that have these portfolios that are just huge, but you've also brought on a whole subscription service. Am I wrong? That really kind of addresses, you know, everyday Joe, whatever you want to call them, whatever you want to say. I'm never going to say the people that don't have enough money because I don't believe that.
Right.
But you know, somebody
There's
that's
just
not
a
quite
different
there.
service model for those
Yes.
people that, and the fact that you know that, yes. So we have another model because my heart wants to help people like I was in my 20s and 30s that didn't know anything. And I will tell you, if you're a young investor, what I have seen in the industry is where you go in and nobody like me wants to help you out. Why? Because we don't make money off of you. You don't have enough money for us to make money off of you. So what happens is people that are young or people that are in middle age that don't have enough money and they go to a bank or they go somewhere for advice. And then what happens is that a person giving them advice is going, how am I going to make money off of this person? And then what happens is they're like, ooh, I'm going to sell them a product instead. So they put them in a commissionable mutual fund or they put them in a commissionable annuity where they're making a ton of money off of a little bit of money. Because what happens is even if you have $50,000 in an investment, you go to someone that's going to sell you an insurance product, they're going to make 5%, maybe 10% off of that. I mean, 2,500, right? That's some real money. And so people get the wrong advice because the advisor working with people that don't have money are going to get ripped off.
Yeah.
So what I created is this other platform because my heart told me to during COVID to create this other platform that it literally costs, you can get in for $500 or $150 a quarter. Like it's nothing. So people can come in and get an advisor and get financial advice and start their financial plan without being sold a product because
Yeah.
that's going to erode away at their investment performance. And I don't want anyone to be in that situation because I used to be a young advisor. And I used to do like, oh, I got to put this person in an annuity, or the company I work for said, sell them an insurance product, and you start to like do those things and it doesn't feel right. And so my give back, because I don't want anyone to ever be in that situation again, is if they're really looking for quality advice, you can come on our platform with zero assets and only debt. You got to pay. You got to pay $150 a quarter or $500 up front. But you will get the right advice and it'll be way less expensive for you.
And I just think, you know, it's that accessibility, right? Because that is, you're right. We talk about
Mhm.
money, we talk about all the beliefs and values we have about money. So we're walking into a situation like this, and then you have someone that's trying to, like you said, sell you something or just not give you advice because you don't make enough. It just reiterates those values and those
It,
beliefs that
eh,
I don't make enough. I'm never going to be able, I'm never going to get to the next step
mhm.
because who's going to help me? And I don't have the knowledge. I'm so stupid, right? It's a
Yes.
cycle.
It, it's a cycle. And then you have someone that you feel that you're intimidated by because you go think they're smarter than you and you go visit with them because they're the financial professional and then they're selling you a product and they're taking advantage of you. And that's
Right.
what gets under my skin too is like, oh my gosh. So do I make money off of the clients that come into the Live Well? No, of course not. It's just paying for the time that we have CPAs, or we have CPAs and CFPs, certified financial planners that are going to sit down. It just pays for the time. Like I don't make a penny. I don't make a penny, but that's not what it's about. It's about to serve the community and give them accessibility to something that they would normally not have. I mean, My biggest issue is just shouting it out to the world because there's so many, there's so many people giving advice out there. It's just like, gosh, I wish I could stand on the top of the mountain and just tell everyone what I know and how, for them to come
Yeah.
in to this platform. But it is what it
Well,
is.
and here's the beautiful part of it though, is like you have this subscription service that you obviously don't make money on. But here's the beautiful thing, you guys. This is true entrepreneurship, because what is going to happen if people start coming in, getting the knowledge, getting the information, getting the tools at a young age? Well, guess what? By the time they're in their 40s, they are coming to you, Dawn, and you are making money, right? Because they're making money.
I'll be
If they,
retired by then, but hopefully my daughter will take over the business and
there
she
we
can
go.
benefit from it. That's how life works, right? But yeah, but it is true. Like I spoke at a university this weekend or just on Tuesday, and I was like, you know what? I'm just going to give you guys free access for 6 months.
Oh my
Like,
gosh.
what is it? Like, they can't have access to the advisor. They can't get a one-on-one because I got to pay his salary
Yeah.
or her salary, right? But they can have access to all the knowledge that I have. And like, what a gift. How awesome that I'm in this position to be
Yeah.
able to just say, you can have it for free for 6 months. And you can either choose to do the work or you choose to not, but they will have access to it all. And I just think that's just such a gift that I'm able to do, because when you do that, like you said, then you know what, someone's mom becomes a client or
Yeah.
someone's dad becomes a client, or just like God rewards you. Like he's just like,
Yeah.
oh, here's this big old client like that hasn't get, yeah. So it's just
Yeah.
it's a cool thing to give back.
Right. And that's that service part of our values, right? Going back to our values. If you have something in there where you want to make a difference and impact, Dawn is explaining exactly how she is able to do that. And I think back because I told you I'd referred a client to you, but this is the third client I've referred to your business. Whether they've done anything or not, that's not for me. But
Hmm.
it's not because of anything I get, it's because of how you approach money and how these clients are like, I have nothing to show for the fact that I'm making $350,000 a year. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't give you all those tools. I can give you the basics. I can run you down profit and loss sheets and all that kind of stuff. I cannot do what these people do, and nor do I want to. This is not
Right.
my expertise, right? I want you to go to someone that's really going to show you how to change the face of your money.
Hmm.
And so, and I think that's one of those things that we get so stuck in, right? Well, I'm too old. It's too late. No, it's not. You're never too old and you're never too late. But are you willing to do the work? Because it's
Hmm.
not going to be comfortable, right? You got to change what has been always happening, because otherwise nothing will change.
Yeah.
And so I just think that's beautiful. And when I've talked about you, I have to tell you this really funny is my second son, who is just turned 26, 20, will be 27 this weekend. He has flexed in his career. So he was medical bound, and COVID changed that, right? He's like, nope, this is not what I want to do for the rest of my life. And so we moved to Montana. He followed us and he found a passion for finances, right?
Ooh.
Because he needed a job. So he went to the local bank and got a job, and it has just like blossomed. And so he's going back to school. And
Ooh.
I have given him your book because I said, dude, you just have to see that there's so many ways of doing financial coaching, financial health, whatever it is. So read this book, go to school, get curious, all the things. But that gift of what you're sharing to look at money different I think it's multifaceted, because it's not just about growing money. It's
Hmm.
about growing you,
Hmm.
right?
100%. That's what it is, because that's what we all really want, you
Yes.
know, is to grow ourselves and have a better experience. And it's all unique to our own individual lives and what our personalities are. And
Yes.
so that's what's really cool about building money. And I think society has made it um, where more is never enough.
Yes.
And that's not okay.
No, it's
Like,
not.
that's not okay. And, it's so interesting too how life works. It's like, now that I'm an empty nester and the income has grown, now it's like, okay, I just want to sit on the couch. I just want a more simplistic life. Like, I just want some balance. Like, I just want, and it's so funny in life how when you have money, It like when you have money and it's like, I don't really need to go. I don't need a new car. I don't
Yeah.
need this. But when you don't have money, then you crave. I used to crave going into the mall. Like, like my dad would go, "You're so stupid." Like my dad has not like hate like right. He would wear the same outfit for 100 years if he could. But like I used to crave going into the mall, like the smell of the mall because like couldn't afford it. And
Right.
I think, that's why I like love to teach people about money because when you have money, you stop worshiping money.
Yes.
It doesn't become this more and more and more, and our life makes it really difficult to earn money. Like it's expensive. Like life is not easy and
No.
it's greedy and life is full of power and greed. And and that's why if my gift can be to teach people how to get in tune with what really matters in their life and spend money around that. You said travel. So it's like, I always say, spend 20% of your net income on travel, your core values.
Yeah.
20% of go do it guilt free. And I'm telling you, if you do that and you save first and spend your core values secondly, you get rid of you get rid of much of the garbage spending, which is usually taxes. We still have to pay them, but can you reduce your taxes by 10%? What would that look
Right.
like? How much money is that for your household? What if you
Right.
what if you took 10% of your spending that you're wasting your money on subscriptions and paying extra for insurance, or somebody sold you an insurance policy that was the wrong one and you could have one for 10 times cheaper. Like
Yeah.
you start digging into, like, that's the uncomfortableness that you have to do. Seriously, the uncomfortableness with money is literally just pulling the statements up and meeting with somebody,
Yes.
because money is
Yes.
actually really easy. You do the dirty work, which means that, we got to
Yeah.
just pull our statements up. We got to just get all our crap together once. And then you set your financial plan up, and then it's just, you keep on tweaking it. But gosh, it's just, if people would just think differently about what they're trying to do in their life
Yeah.
and have enough, right? And if you don't have enough, do fix and flips. Figure out a way to make
Yeah.
more money. And if you have enough, like, then just give your time and resources away to yourself first. Fill yourself up, but then your what you value most, which is,
Yeah.
yourself and giving to others. It's a cool place to be.
Well, and I think that, one of the things that we so struggle with, we put that wall up, is doing, like you said, doing the yucky work, doing the dirty work. But the dirty work is actually really empowering. If you are really truly ready to do something different, those numbers, I think that's why I love numbers so much, is they're black and white.
Hmm.
They're going to tell you exactly what you value. And if that's not what you value on your values list, then you know exactly where we've got to make some changes, right?
Hmm.
And 99% of the time, when people start going through those statements and those expenses and seeing where they spent money in the last 6 months, they're like, this is out of control.
Hmm.
But we ignore it, right? It's not, I don't want to deal with it. I don't want to deal with it. I don't want to deal with it. But it's so powerful. It's such a tool to actually be able to change and live in those values. I think about that all the time. Everyone's like, I can't believe you guys don't ever eat out. And it's not that we don't ever eat out, but we don't ever eat out. Why? We're a very large family. So it costs a lot of money for us to
Hmm.
eat out. And two, I'm an amazing cook. I'm usually disappointed when I go to a restaurant, right? So why would I spend my money to be disappointed? That makes absolutely no sense to me. I'm going to put
Absolutely.
that $150, because that's literally what it cost us to eat out, $150 in my
Easily.
savings account to travel. And
Hmm.
it's not just my traveling, it's the value of my one of my values is adventure, yes, and that's travel, typically always. But one of my other values is family. And when my 5-year-old, 6-year-old can come to me and say, Mama, do you remember when I got to pet the manateee?
Mm-hmm.
That means I grow. I'm like, you're right. I do remember when you got to pet the manta ray, or you got to swim with, these, or got to do this, because that's important. That's that legacy,
Yes.
right? I want
They're
to
never going to
leave.
say, remember when we went to the restaurant and I was so bored and I couldn't wait to get out of there and it cost you $150?
Yes, never,
Right.
never. But
Hmm.
that experience in the ocean, or that experience, whatever it is, it doesn't matter. It's not the same as mine. But whatever that is is what we come back to, and it's what fuels us. And I tell my clients, they have to name their savings accounts. with a value, with a goal, right?
Nice. I
Because
love that.
when you go to take that money out of that savings account that says Africa, I
Mhm.
guarantee you're not doing it,
Mhm. Mhm.
right?
Absolutely. You know what's interesting? I want to say one thing what you said, people don't want to look at their spending over the last 6 months or whatever, but that applies to all areas of life. So, I
Mm,
talk a lot about behavior. Your behavior with your spending is very similar to your behavior with your relationships, your behavior with how you view life, how you do everything. And so the money, if you're not looking at your money and that behavior, you're not looking at your behavior as a human being. And I
yeah.
believe the number one thing that everybody should do is be self aware of their behavior. That's just owning your worth. Owning your worth is like owning that behavior and quit pointing fingers at everyone else because everything stems from within. So
Yes.
if you're not willing to look at yourself with your money, guess what? I bet you your relationships suck too.
Yeah.
And I bet you you're not, you know what I mean? You're like, you see it. How you do one thing is how you do pretty much everything.
Yep.
And that goes back to our behaviors. And that's super, super important. So I wanted to say that because I think that that would be a miss if we didn't talk about that. I'm a behavioral financial advisor and it comes down to those behaviors. And I love that you're naming accounts. Like I had a client 10 years ago, maybe a little bit longer. I told her to take out, like, to refinance their house and only pay minimum on their house. And they're like, no, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, yes. And what you're going to do is you're going to take the difference. Like you were paying, I'm going to make this number up because I don't remember, but let's
Yeah.
say they were paying $2,000 a month on their mortgage. And now they're only paying 1,200 because they refinance. So I'm like, okay, take that $800 and we're going to put it in a house payment repayment back account. So I said, it's like you're paying down your house still, but you're going to leverage your money because the interest is lower on your mortgage now. And we're going to make you money over here. And at any time, you can take that money that we have hanging out at Charles Schwab and you can dump it on your house. We called it the house payment back account because they were like, no, I just want to pay off my mortgage. I'm like, you are, but you're going to pay it off faster this way. And then 10 years later, like, they watch their mortgage continue to go down and this account go up and they've never taken the money out of the house pay because they're like, oh, I get it now. Like I get how money works. But I love the fact that you're naming these accounts. And when you do that, you can have those experiences. And then when you take it a step further and start to like manipulate, you can't manipulate people's situations right now with this example that I just talked about because interest rates aren't as low as they used to be. But there's just so many things
Yes.
that you can do to name those accounts and make them real. Right? Because that money is just a tool, but that's the vacation is really what people that value adventure
Yes.
really want in life. So
Right.
I love that you brought that up.
And I'm so excited that you just showed that example because I think it highlights exactly what having someone like Dawn in your money, someone in her like her company in your money enables us to do that we don't think about. That
Hmm.
there's always a way to spend less taxes, right?
Hmm.
There's so many tools. That was one of the things you totally blew my mind on early on. I was like, "Oh my
What?
gosh."
I know. I know. It's so exciting. Like the most boring topic on the planet can really change your life, can
You're
make it
just
more
like,
exciting.
"What? I am
Yes.
so wasting money," right? But
Hmm.
but it's a tool and it's power, right? Like it's not about not knowing everything. It's about you don't know until you don't know, and then you get to do something about it.
Hmm.
And that's the beautiful part of it. But behaviors. Oh my gosh. Behaviors. So, this is something that I feel so deeply about because I do believe that like how you do one thing is how you do everything. And there's like these core 5 foundations in my opinion. We're all going to have a little bit different, but money is always one of them because money is such an emotional tool.
Hmm.
But I'll just kind of bring into my own practice. I have clients come to me and say, I was never taught about money. I don't know anything about money. And so I've got to change this. And I'm like, this is beautiful. Awesome. I'm so glad that I was the person that you came to. And then as we're going through it, I realized that they were repeating their cycle with their children. They're teaching them nothing. They're handing it over. They're not, there's no accountability, there's no actions, there's no knowledge. And I'm like, we're repeating this cycle. And so the legacy that you're leaving is exactly what you're saying you want to change.
Mhm.
So we have to stop and think about the behavior. Why do you want to do this? Well, because I want to make sure that they always have everything they need. I'm not saying you don't want your children to have everything they need, but everything they need is actually knowledge. Everything they need is
Absolutely.
actually choices.
And giving them money actually harms them more than it does help them. And that's hard the way our brains think because we're emotional, especially us moms, right? And I've
Yes.
made that same mistake too. Like full transparency. I grew up, we can't do this, we can't afford this, we can't do this, anxiety around money, all this kind of crap, right? So I
Right.
wanted a different experience for my two daughters. So guess what I did? I went the pendulum went to the opposite side. And
Yep.
I'm like, girls, here's your Ugg boots, here's your Lululemon pants, here's your, like, here's your Gucci bag. Here, like, I had the money to do it. So I was like, well, wait a second. I have the money to do it. But little did I know that when my daughter, who just turned 21 yesterday, um, when I did her spending plan, I hate to call it a budget, but I went through her spending last year and I almost vomited. Like vomited.
Yeah.
Like almost, like, seriously. And I was like, who do you think you are? Spending all who? You're a college student. I used to think college was expensive. It's not the college bill. It's the daughter. But guess what? Guess who had to own some of that?
Yeah, you.
Me. Because
Mhm.
everything stems from within. And so I was like, damn it, I wish I would have raised my kids a little bit differently. I felt so limited in my growing up that I didn't want my kids to feel limited. But it's like, oh my gosh, now I expect my kid to go from living an income of, here you go, you can dance, you can travel, you can do all these fun things, you can buy the cool sunglasses. And then all of a sudden you go to college, you should have nothing. Like, how shame on me, who's an expert in money,
Right.
to like, and so I told my daughter, I said, I'm going to own half and you're going to own the other half, but you're going to pay me back half of this debt. And shame on me for not realizing that she was using my credit card because it wasn't a lot,
Yeah.
but you pay it off and you go, like entrepreneurs, we're doing too
Yeah.
many things. And right. And so I was like, ooh, okay. But again, an expert
Yep.
screws up too.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I think we need to talk about these things because it was like, yes, I screwed up, but life is all how you respond to those things
Yeah.
and take action. And I was like, I'm sorry. I raised you like a little freaking diva. And she's not a bit like my kids are so nice to other people. And that was super important to me, but like a financial diva. Right.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
Yeah.
and I kind of wanted to do that because I wanted them to experience like the good life so they could make some money in the
Mhm.
future. But it was like, oh, this in between time of not making money and still spending mine. And then I have the college bill and all that kind of stuff. I was like, I screwed up, but I making her pay me back. Like,
Yeah.
I'm like, here are the ways you can pay back. Her birthday was yesterday. One of her payments back is no birthday present.
Yeah.
I was like, she's paying me $249 exactly every month. She's now getting her hair done somewhere else. She's now like for free.
Yeah.
She's now working in my investment firm, doing shit work
Yeah.
so she can pay off 10,000 of the 20,000 that she owes me. Like, you know what I mean? And so I'm making her do that because I have to backpedal too, but I want her to not go into a marriage in the future with
Right.
bad spending habits. So we have to look at that. And so even as I screwed up as a parent, I can actually fix that still and make sure that she creates that differently for her family.
Yes, I love it because that's the kid, you guys. We don't know until we don't know, right? Like, I mean,
Mhm.
you just don't. You have to be able to. How am I going to respond to this? Am I going to continue this cycle? Whether it's in your own personal spending, your children's spending, your husband's spending, it doesn't matter. But we get to choose something different, and we've all made the mistakes. I remember when my daughters were younger, and I really didn't understand values at that point and the importance of them. I was always a saver, but I was still living in scarcity mindset. But the amount of money I spent on adorable little girl clothes, adorable little girl clothes, right? Because they were number 3 and 4. So I'd had 2 boys. And I was like,
You got your
oh,
girls.
oh my gosh, and I mean, don't get me wrong. There's not a picture we don't go back and we're like, look at that outfit. But when you think about it, when you calculate it, I'm like, that had nothing to do with who I was.
Mhm.
That is not a value.
Mhm.
And I look at the baby. So the baby's 6, and so she's a girl. So it went boy, boy, girl, girl, boy, girl. Oh my gosh, she gets so simple clothes because now I realize, like, no, I'm taking her to the Caribbean. That's
Mhm.
how I'm spending my money because she remembers that, right? But
Yes.
again, it's like I didn't know until, you just have to go with it. But one of the things when you talk about that I really want to, I hope our audience hears is you can provide for your children and still teach them about money,
Mhm.
right? And so, like, for me, one of the things is my 17-year-old is a diva about jeans. Oh my gosh, she's a diva about jeans. So that's fine. That's great. I have no
Mhm.
issues with that. She gets a budget for school clothes.
Mhm.
You spend it however you want.
Mhm.
But if you get 2 things, you get 2 things. If you get
Mhm.
20 things, you get 20 things. If I would really encourage you, if you want those jeans or those boots, we're country kids.
Mhm.
Those boots, go buck some hay.
Mhm.
And that's exactly what
Absolutely.
she
Roll
did.
your sleeves up
Yes.
and the behavior, do
Yes.
the work, right? If you want those nice things, you gotta figure
Yeah.
out how I did, you
Yes.
did,
Yes.
right? Mhm.
Right. And my daughter and I
Yes.
are like, I can't believe you're spending that much money on those jeans when you just had to work. And I said, whoa, whoa, whoa. She's not judging how you spend your money. She
Mhm.
worked for it. She
Mhm.
has it. And this is how she wants to spend her money.
Right.
Kudos to her.
Yes.
Right.
And kudos to her, absolutely, and kudos to you. And to like I feel like, we screw up as parents, but my daughters have also watched me work and
Yes.
roll my sleeves up and know like they can't call me during the middle of the day to ask me X, Y, and Z because I'm not going to answer. Like I'll answer emergency calls, of course. But like I think people our kids watch us more than we realize. People, like you
Oh,
said earlier,
always.
people are
Yeah.
watching, especially the people super close to us, they're watching. And so I think, I'm hoping, knock on wood, that I did teach them the value of behavior and things. Money doesn't grow on trees. And it's like like I went into financial planning at age 29 and didn't know a thing.
Right.
I didn't even know what a mutual fund was. And I figured it out. Like
Right.
I had to take the exams, I had to work, I had to, all of, what, I figured it out. And everybody can. If I can do it, I'm from a small town, Wisconsin city of 2,000 people with one stoplight. I didn't get great grades. I was a social butterfly, but like I looked at behavior and I figured out how to work hard. And I
Yeah.
think that's the message, is that if you work hard and you have some knowledge about the opportunities that are available in your life to have more wealth that's led not from a scarcity mindset, from an abundant mindset. Like that's all of our opportunities. It's not special to you and me.
No,
It's for
absolutely not.
everybody.
Yes, absolutely not. I know we could go on forever, and I'm not going to do that. Gotta
I know.
gotta
So easy.
wrap this up. But I end every conversation with, what does courage mean to you? And Dawn, this is what you wrote. For me, courage means the willingness to take control of your financial future with confidence, even when it feels uncertain or uncomfortable. It's about making bold, values aligned decisions that support long term wealth and personal fulfillment. What a beautiful way to wrap up everything that we've talked about. And I'm going to drop in the show notes where they can find you, where they can find your programs, all the websites. And I just cannot thank you enough for bringing your expertise and your energy, because that's really what it's all about. We talked about that at
Mhm.
the beginning, your energy to our guests. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. It's an honor.